Kenny McKinstry, seed at number 1. What are going to be your tactics over the next 2 days?
Well, for a start, I think the roads down around this part of the country would be fairly slippy this morning anyway, and what we probably will do is take the first 3 stages pretty easy, I needn't say easy, but pretty carefully to see what's happening. AJ Keating there's behind me, and I'm sure AJ will be, as usual, going very quick, you know, so obviously I have to keep an eye on him, and I'm sure there's a lot of boys behind him as well, so I'd say take it handy just for the first 3 and see what happens.
AJ Keating, you'll be running second car on the road over the weekend. Do you think it's going to be possible to stick with Kenny McKinstry?
It will be difficult, but I'll be trying. I haven't done the event last year, so it's all new territory to me, but I'm hoping for a good weekend sport.
Last weekend you won the Banner single stage. Do you think that you have the mechanical problems associated with this Escort sorted out at last?
Yeah, I've thought that for a long time. It's just small, simple little things that are going wrong all the time. Nothing major has gone wrong with the car. It's small, simple little things, and I'm just hoping. It's just bad luck, and I hope it's changed.
Charlie Lamb, your first time to Ireland, your first time on tarmac without pace notes. What kind of an event do you think it's going to be?
Fast and furious, I would imagine, knowing you Irish lads.
You were telling me earlier on that you'll find it difficult, that the usual events in England are about 60 miles of tarmac. Will it be very difficult to adjust?
No, we've been to Belgium and done 3 over there. That's been 200 plus miles, and we seem to manage.
And this particular Escort, could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Started life off as Bornwalder Guard safari car. It was sold to a fellow in England called Piggy Thompson from the Ford factory, who spent a fortune on it. Sold it to John Brown, who wrecked it about 6 times, and he sold it to me.
Well, I'm sure that you'll hold it together this weekend, Charlie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stage 1, Mount Gabriel, and Ken McKinstry's Monaghan Poultry Products Escort RS 1800 leads the field away in the 1984 National Alluminium Rally. He was followed by Kanturk's AJ Keating in the rear-wheel drive TB3 Escort. David Gould had completely overhauled his Talbot Sunbeam Lotus for the event and was expected to be a major contender for overall honours. Next on the road was Dublin photographer Frank Fennell, partnered by Alan Valerie in the Talbot Sunbeam. The rear-wheel drive Gartrack Escort of Sean Delaney was also expected to be there or thereabouts at the finish. Sam Hawkins and Sean Hanley in the Clio-sponsored Chevette were looking for their first major success with the new car. The leading overseas entry was Englishman Charlie Lamb in the ex-Bjorn Waldegard Escort RS 1800. Also in an Escort and aiming for class honours was Frank Marr. While the best seeded local entry was Skibbereen publican Bernard O'Brien in the 2-litre single cam Escort. Ken McKinstry gave notice early on in the event that he meant business, setting the fastest stage time 4 minutes 40 seconds on the first special stage. He was 12 seconds faster than second place man AJ Keating, who started on wet weather tyres even though the tarmac was powder dry. David Gould was slowed by a mysterious misfire in the beautifully turned out Sunbeam. He was lying 10th, almost 40 seconds off the pace. Sean Delaney lost time when the battery master switch disconnected. He was now 7th. Already proving to be the sensation of the event was Bernard O'Brien. At this point in time, he was an amazing 3rd overall. Weather conditions during an event always plays a vital part in deciding the outcome of a rally, but it was the conditions that prevailed the 2 days before the event that had such a dramatic influence on the 1984 National Alluminium Rally. An encouraging number of overseas entries had been received by the organisers, the Skibbereen and District Car Club, but many of these failed to make the trip due to the unfavourable weather conditions that existed on the Irish Sea for 2 days prior to the start of the event. Amongst these was the original number 3 seed John Price, who arrived at the ferry point to discover that there had been lorries knocked all over the place on the previous crossing. John decided not to risk his rig and returned from home. Number 2 seed Richie Healy also failed to make the start when a new clutch for his Escort did not arrive in time on the ferry. Last year's winner Brendan Fagan also failed to make the start ramp, whilst Winston Henry was forced at the last moment to withdraw his entry. Stage 5, Mizzen Head, and Ken McKinstry powers the red BDA Escort away into the distance. The gap between himself and the Escort of AJ Keating was now almost 2 minutes. AJ was heard to comment, "I have no excuses, I can't live with that pace." David Gould was still hampered by that misfire, which was caused by the wrong jets being fitted in the Sunbeam's carburettor. Frank Fennell in the flow gas sponsored Sunbeam was now up to third, but was under tremendous pressure. Sam Hawkins was fifth and he had no major problems to report. Charlie Lamb was enjoying his first experience of Irish tarmac rallying and was 7th overall. Mal Stuart had to change the distributor of the Avenger on his way out to the first stage, but was going okay now and was 8th overall. Bernard O'Brien had dropped back to 4th, but only 7 seconds separated him from Frank Fennell for 3rd. The battle between the two was proving to be the highlight of the event. Another local man doing nicely was Martin Swanton and Michael Buckley. They were 6th and were not allowing 5th place man Hawkins to relax for a moment. News of retirements was beginning to come in. Already out at this point was Bob O'Callaghan, who rolled the Escort. Also out on stage 3 was Sean Lockyer when the brand new Golf GTI struck a wall. Dennis Cronin and John Oakley were also out with a blown engine.
Kenny, at every stage you're increasing your lead. Have you had any problems at all?
No, not so far. The only problem I did have was at the beginning of the last stage. They went to start the car and there was just a bit of smoke that come out of the whole thing, you know. So it eventually turned out that the starter wire had come off, you know. And we got a push start and we're just repairing it now, but other than that the cars run fine.
And do you think that the stages are very, very fast and that they're suiting your Escort?
The stages are very, very good. I think maybe the third one is the only one that's a wee bit slippy. I thought this morning it was going to be wet, you know, over the stages, especially around the coast there, but they're very, very good surface.
At the moment you're nearly 2 minutes of a lead. Have you any notion at this stage of easing it back a small little bit?
I would say after this run round, I would say now we're going to be taking things a wee bit more handy, you know, than before.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
At this stage, AJ, do you think there's any way that you can catch Kenny?
No. No, he's just going too quick. I'm quite happy to be in second place. If I finish second, it'll be a good result for me this year. As you know, I've had a lot of bad luck, and I finish in second overall, I'll settle for it.
But are you driving the car at 100%? Are you keeping something back to make sure for that finish?
No, I don't think I'm just not on form. You know, I've had quite a sleepless night last night, and it's telling. But I'm not in top form, but it's no excuse. I'm not able to catch Kenny anyway.
Well, things will be better tomorrow. Thanks very much, AJ.
Thank you.
David showed serious problems earlier on this morning with a misfire. Have you cured it at all?
No, we tried changing pump jets, changing timings. We can't seem to get the car to pull over 6,000 revs, and it doesn't even want to pull up to 6,000 revs, so we're way down on power. It's like driving a 1300 really.
And how much time do you think you've dropped over the stages?
Oh, I'd say we're dropping anything from 30 seconds to nearly a minute on each stage, particularly on the long one.
Well, we hope that you'll be able to sort it out, and thanks very much, David.
So do I, thanks.
Kelly Ron, you have a very close dice with Bernard O'Brien in the Escort. How's that been developing?
I didn't see any of his times recently, so I don't know. I wouldn't mind knowing though, you know, because if we're getting near to home territory later on, he'll probably go quicker.
But how have you found the event so far? Stages, etc.?
They're far too quick for a Group A car. The next one we're coming on to now isn't so bad, but the other two are very, very quick.
McKinstry continues to pile on the pressure, the gap between himself and Keating increasing by the mile. David Gould's misery continues as he drops further and further behind the leaders, while Frank Fennell is determined to open up a gap between himself and Bernard O'Brien. Mal Stuart and Ken Rees are happy to hold station and make their bid over the Sunday stages. The first leg of the rally on Saturday consisted of 3 stages in the scenic Skull, Mizen Head area, each stage repeated 3 times. The stages themselves were very, very fast and in exceptional condition, resulting in extraordinary fast times being set throughout the day. The location and timing of these stages ensured that the large crowd of spectators were able to visit numerous locations, thus adding to the enjoyment of the event. McKinstry has had a trouble-free day and now leads Keating by almost 3 minutes. Similarly, Keating has had no car problems except with his service wagon, which had to be towed around all day due to a broken gearbox. Frank Fennell got a little bit of a scare when his engine began to overheat earlier, but was now okay in the sunbeam. Sam Hawkins was still 5th. Charlie Lamb was still 7th, but the gap between himself and Mal Stuart was a little bit too close for comfort. Only 9 seconds separated the pair at this stage. Bernard O'Brien was 4th, 33 seconds behind 3rd place man Frank Fennell. Frank Maher had an anxious moment on stage 3 when he went straight on at the junction, but luckily no damage was done. Martin Swanton was 6th, despite a brush with the scenery earlier on. Sean Delaney had lost another 6 minutes when the battery master switch tripped again. Sean Hurley and Mike Marshall were just inside the top 10. Tossie Hayes lost some time on the 2nd stage when he clouted the rear of his Escort. After the 9 stages that completed the first leg of the rally, the crews headed back for Skibbereen for a 2-hour service halt. The classic Tragumna stage, repeated 3 times in darkness, made up the 2nd leg of the event. Some of the leading drivers are about to tell us what happened.
Bernard, you proved to be the sensation of the event, but you've had some problems in Trag last night.
Yeah, and we had a good run in the first run, and the second run then about 2 miles into the stage, we got the gear lever came loose in my hand, so we had to do the rest of the stage in the gear we were in. We had a problem, alright, going around the hairpin right in Trag in 3rd gear trying to get up there, but we managed at the same time.
How much stage time did you drop on that occasion?
Roughly 25 seconds on that stage, so we were hoping to pull out in Frank Fennell last night, but we just lost 25 seconds there. Even so, we passed them on the leaderboard at that stage.
Just 2 seconds at the moment between yourself and Frank. How do you think it's going to go today?
I don't really know. We might be a bit faster, all right, in the first couple of stages, but I think he'll overhaul us later on in the day.
Keep it up, Bernard. Thank you.
Thank you.
On last night's stages, AJ was taking some time off for you. Does that worry you at all at the moment, Kenny?
No, not really, because on the night stages, well, on the first one I think he took 10 seconds off me, and in the second one I think we took 6 off him then. The third one, actually, we had no lights. I needn't say we had no lights, but the alternator had stopped working, so we're just driving through in the battery. We switched off a couple of lights just to get to the end of the stage, so I wasn't too much worried about that, you know.
At the moment it looks as if it's going to be very, very wet today. Does that worry you?
No, not really. At the minute I think we can afford to drop probably about 20 seconds a stage to AJ. And I mean, if you win by 10 seconds, it's as good as winning by 2 or 3 minutes, you know, so that's the plan for today, really.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken.
Thank you.
The first stage on Sunday morning, Ballyhilty Bridge. Overnight leader Ken McKinstry leads the surviving crews away from the 12 noon restart at Market Street. As AJ Keating goes through, the gap between himself and Ken McKinstry is still about 3 minutes. Bernard O'Brien has now overtaken Frank Fennell for third, but the margin between the two was still a very slender 2 seconds. Sam Hawkins was driving his usual steady rally, was still fifth. Mal Stuart in the Avenger was 200 brake horsepower less than his normal Sunbeam, but nevertheless held a fine 6th place. The addition of road penalties dropped Charlie Lamb back from 7th to 9th. Tossie Hayes was up to 10th. Declan Croke was 11th. Ken McKinstry was £100 richer on Sunday morning, he being the driver that set the fastest stage time over the Tregumnan night stage using Carrello lights. By now, the drizzle that had started in the morning was turning into a downpour, and what an effect it was going to have on the results of the rally. As motorsport fans throughout the world had the final Formula 1 Grand Prix, which would determine the world champion for 1984 to watch from Portugal, West Cork had its own Grand Prix as the National Alluminium Rally came to the village of Durris. As McKinstry approaches the village, his lead of 3 minutes is still intact. Keating had been slowed due to his wipers not working at one stage, but he had settled for second place very early on in the event. Bernard O'Brien is now fourth, 6 seconds behind Frank Fennell, whose Sunbeam was way more suited for the wet and slippery conditions. Hawkins had slipped back to 6th due to wrong tyres. Stuart was revelling in the west and was now up to 5th. Jim Nyan was lying just inside the top 10. Another man about to make his challenge on the top 10 was English visitor Jeremy Bailey. Peter Rushford in the familiar Lotus Sunbeam on his way to finish 10th overall. Saturday's problems had put paid to Sean Delaney's chances of challenging the leaders. All the Glenmire man was interested in at this stage was to get to the finish. Here we see the Mark 1 Escort of Mike Lynch, who finished 9th overall. And the class-winning Escort of John Moynihan from Macroom. Due to the extremely unfavourable weather conditions on Sunday, retirements were numerous. They included Sean Hurley and Mike Marshall, who crashed the Datsun on stage 14, badly damaging the car. Martin Swanton and Michael Buckley also crashed out of the event on stage 15. Tossie Hayes retired when he crashed the Escort on the same stage. Also out was David Gould with no oil pressure. Dennis Turner was forced to retire with transmission failure in the Escort. And so on it went, with only 25 of the original 50 starters making it back to the finish.
Very wet and windy, Kenny. Is it very, very treacherous out there on the stages?
Yeah, the first stage especially is very, very slippery, yes. The narrow bits of it are very narrow, and the water's just running down where your tires are running, so, I mean, it's crazy stuff, you know.
And you've no hairy moment whatsoever?
No, today first stage we drove pretty hard, and after that we've just tried to stay, you know, keep our distance, you know, and had no problems. We're trying to stay out of trouble. It's hard to do, we're trying our best.
Well, AJ, it must be very, very hair-raising to be driving around these stages without any wipers.
Oh, it certainly is. Driving cautiously. We had a problem with the wipers. They stopped about quarter mile into the long stage. We drove half the stage without wipers, but then it got so bad that I had to throw off the belts, put my hand outside onto the windscreen and get them going manually. And having done that, the wiper shot off the windscreen altogether. So I was going through the fog with wet windscreen, and it was quite dodgy. I lost a lot of time, but it's not going to make any difference in the results.
You lost the third place temporarily this morning with wrong tyre choice. How much time did you drop on that occasion?
Roughly about 20 seconds, 25 seconds. In the first two stages we had the wrong tyres on. So we changed onto PBs after that, and we're getting back time the whole time now.
And you were confident at this stage that you're after overtaking Frank Fennell again?
I think in the last two stages we have to overtaken them again. Well, at least I hope I have now.
But other than tyre choice, you've had no problems with the car?
None whatsoever. It's run quite smoothly all day.
Thanks very much, Bernard.
Thank you.
Bernard O'Brien so far was having a trouble-free run, but a blown engine on the final stage when lying third ended the Skibbereen man's interest in the event. In 10th place was regular English visitor Peter Rushford in his familiar Sunbeam. Mick Lynch brought his Mark 1 Escort home in 9th position. Here he passes Frank Fennell in the Group A car, who had been off earlier in the stage, dropping valuable time. A rear wheel puncture adds to his misery, dropping him down the leaderboard to 7th overall. Another English visitor in the top 10 was Jeremy Bailey in the Escort, who finished 8th overall. In 6th place was former hot rod champion Jim Nyhan, navigated by Vincey McGrath, also in an Escort. Charlie Lamb, on his first visit to Ireland, brought the Escort home in 5th place. He is passed here by determined Mal Stuart, who turned up the wick over the final few stages to finish a fine 3rd overall. Sam Hawkins and Sean Hanley finished 4th. They were beaten by a mere 27 seconds by the Welshman Stewart for 3rd place. AJ Keating and Fergus Connolly finished an excellent 2nd in their rear-wheel drive Escort. So, the winners of the 1984 National Alluminium Rally was Ken McKinstry, partnered by Brian McNamee. Ken's late decision to enter the event paid off well. He was £1,000 richer, and the rally fans in West Cork were given a huge treat with his spectacular style of driving. This is Michael White saying thanks for watching and hoping you enjoyed this Cork Video Services production.